Heisman Trophy winner, going to be in the Hall of Fame. I can feel it.
Oh.
Look, that's just me. Eddie George, good to see you.
Good seeing you too, man. Appreciate it.
Let's start here. What's the difference for you now that you're in Chicago? Mm-hmm. We're going to see you on the stage.
Doing Chicago.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
All that. Billy Flynn, right?
Yes.
That's a big time character here. A lot of challenges. But what's the difference for you when if you can, when you're playing football versus being on the stage? As far as what's going on inside of you, your focus, the nerves, all of it?
The nerves are the same, but it's different in the sense your focus is different. In football, it's you against the opponent. You're really not focused on the environment, so to speak. You get the boos, away game, you get the cheers, or the boos at home, depending on how well you're doing. But you're focused on the opponent, imposing your will, focused on your job, because you can get hurt out there. I mean, if you're not careful, if you're not focused and locked in. Whereas on stage, it's a little bit different because the audience is that third or fourth character, and they participate in the play. So they let you know, according to their response, they push the story along. I mean, you can say something that's so serious, but it's funny to them. You're like, that's funny. And it can be, you can't get distracted. One story I have, just recently, I did a production of Top Dog Underdogs, a two-man play. It's heavy lifting. It's a lot of speeches, a lot of monologues, and I'm already struggling with getting all of my words and all of the lines down. And there's this one scene where I am sitting in a chair, much like this, and on this angle actually. My younger brother's here, and he's here, and I'm talking to him. And I think I'm telling him about the scene of the arcade or whatever. And it's intimate like how the cameras are set up right now. It's in a black box theater, and there are people right on the stage, just standing around the stage, so you can see anybody coming in. So I'm talking to him like this, and lo and behold, my old nemesis comes sneaking in the door, Ray Lewis.
He just walks in the door.
Slides in, and he comes right to my vantage point. I'm like, I'll be damned. Now that I'm on the football field, he was a problem, and now he's a distraction in the theater. So I had to really lock in and focus on my role. And in fact, it helped me because I was very intense because I got a lot of energy that came out of me in that moment. But I just found that interesting that you can get thrown off, and how Ray always has been a thorn in my side.
Okay, first of all, it's one of the greatest rivalries in the NFL. The two of you guys going at it for years was just awesome. And secondly, the whole confidence that, hey, I was this big, powerful football player. I was trying to run over Ray Lewis, and now I got to be like confident in fact that I can act in front of him. Like that's big time.
And here's the thing: it's like it's not so much acting in front of him; it's telling the truth and being vulnerable. And you're thinking like, man, I wonder what he's thinking. Like, I wonder if he thinks this is stupid, or you have no idea. But you have to really divorce yourself from that thought process, or you'll be out of the moment. You have to be very truthful. Like, if you feel the emotions to cry or to be angry or however you feel, you have to allow that to come up. You can't manufacture the truthful moments. You've got to be open to tell the truth, whatever that is, and that's what makes acting compelling for me.
Well, what I'm hearing on that is like, it doesn't matter what he thinks. It's you on your own side. I'm doing this.
Right.
This is my life. This is my moment.
Exactly.
And
the audience, the people that paid, that's their time. The theater is the most important time in someone's life when they come to the theater. They come for a purpose, for a reason. They could be coming to be entertained. They come to get the day's stresses off their mind, try to get their mind off of an issue. They come to be enlightened, to be inspired. So it's a very important job that you have as an actor, that it's not just about you, you know? And it can't be that way, because it'll spark conversation, it'll spark something in you. If somebody walks away from performance like, man, you know, Eddie George was good at just delivering a speech, then I didn't do my job. If they are talking about the components of the play, well, man, the character was so deep in trying to get his brother to get him to play the streetcar Monty, but then he shot him at the end. I mean, really talking about the story, then you've done your job, you know, versus the opposite, you know. So that's what I try to bring to the stage every time I touch it, is who the character is, what he wants, and get wrapped up into what his goals and objectives are from the time I touch the stage to the very end of the play when I'm standing up for ovations. So it takes me completely out of that.
Well, I'm hearing the same integrity that you went about your business on the football field.
No doubt.
I mean, you didn't want to go out there, obviously, and embarrass yourself. Wanted to be there for your team, and for the people that are paying to come see, you know, the Buckeyes or the Titans, whatever.
Right.
But it's also there's just I'm going to do things the right way.
Right. And I could never play the game for myself. I had to do it for my teammates. I had to do it for the city. I did it for my family. And if I could serve a higher cause, it would take me out of my own thought processes, own selfish reasons. Okay, I want to go to the Pro Bowl, or I want to get these bonuses, or I want to win a rushing title. I wanted to win championships. I wanted to be a part of something special. And I wanted to have a special locker room, and we accomplished that to some degree, you know, professionally speaking. So those things were really important to me, that it had to be something greater than myself, you know, in terms of serving God, and how that aligns with my purpose in life and what I needed to do. So that's how I approach, you know, mostly everything in my life. That's the foundation.
You've talked a lot about purpose, and you get done playing, you're 31 years old. Okay, so now what's next? Yeah. And it was before you got to what's next, you had to sort of...
Who am I?
Right.
Yeah.
And
unravel that onion.
So how long did that journey last before you? I know you've told the story where
there are phases to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, yeah, I'm now this. You know, I'm having success in various areas of my life, of transitioning, but you never stop evolving and growing and changing. I thought I was just a football player, but to come to find out that's not it. You know, you're never what your job tells you who you are.
Right.
You are a person that's resilient, that's persistent, that's constantly a student of life, and understanding that whatever you do with the highest integrity and whatever you touch will succeed and will provide for you on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Whatever you do, if it's you love to do, if you will do it for free, that's what you're supposed to do. And if it's affecting others and helping others and inspiring others and uplifting humanity, then that's your life purpose. So that's what I had to really come to understand, is that I was not born just to play football and die. You know, it was meant for that to be a platform and to build on that foundation, and through the avenue of entertainment, through the arts, through entrepreneurship, through education, I'm able to impact and help others, to be a conduit, to say, hey, you know, football isn't everything, sports isn't everything, business isn't everything. It's finding your purpose through all of that to help out others, and by helping others, it's going to help you and your pockets and everything else. So it's a give and take.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear purpose, to me it's like you're planting a flag out in the distance, and you try to orient towards that each day. Whatever you're doing, I mean, it could be.
And you know what's funny is that you use that the analogy is that you put that flag out there and you see it, but sometimes your path will take you the opposite direction. You're like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
Yeah, you know.
And then you got to orient, well, this is what I'm about, so whatever it is.
Sometimes you can't see the flag.
Oh, my God.
That's when you walk by faith and not by sight. You know, it's like, whoa, wait, second. Then it's a completely different dynamic. Then you're set on this journey of experiences that you're like, I'm supposed to be on stage on Broadway. What the hell am I doing over here? You know, teaching a class at X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But there's a lesson learned to help you get to that point, you know. So it's fascinating how life is.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about the flag out there, it's like I can see it for a second, and then you go back into like what you're used to every day. At least that's you know,
yeah.
like, why don't you open your eyes out and look at that flag again and remind yourself what you're supposed to be doing. Right. So what's the biggest challenge of this role particularly?
You know, Billy is one of the great characters on Broadway, in my opinion. I mean, his words, his levels, the nuances of who he is. He's charismatic. He never loses, which I'm used to. No,
It's true.
He's a ladies' man. He does have a compassionate side, so you can't really play Billy with one note. There are moments that you really have to allow to breathe and unlock, and so you can get the fullness of who he is. The songs that he sings are just incredible. I love all of his numbers. You know, all I care about is love, or Both Reach for the Gun. My favorite now is what's the last number? Is oh God, I can't even think now. See, I gotta go on stage tonight.
This is a great moment on stage right here.
Yeah, see, then you have to improvise.
But you're out there singing.
Yeah.
And you took singing lessons.
Mm-hmm. Took singing. That was the first thing that I did take, was singing lessons early in my career as an actor. It was with my acting coach, Anna Maria Franzella, who's no longer with us. God bless her soul. She wanted to train me as an actor, and as a part of that process was singing lessons, whether I was going to sing or not. And as we went through singing lessons and learned how to use my diaphragm and to sing from my gut and hips and all of that, he says, you have a natural singing voice, and we're going to work on some songs, and All I Care About Is Love will be one of them.
Wow.
Razzle Dazzle, that's the last song. I couldn't think of the name. It was going to bother me. It was bothering me the whole time. But
I knew you were going to get there. At some point.
Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah.
So she's like, she kept pushing me to sing these songs, and she's like, you have a beautiful voice. And my wife's a singer. She sings in SWV, so I would say, listen to this. My wife like, okay, just go back to bed. Just keep dreaming, you know. And so she didn't help my confidence at all.
Territorial.
Yeah, very much so. But I just kept at it, kept working at it. And then I was doing a play in Nashville called The Whipping Man in 2015. And this play is a very dark, deep, emotionally driven play. I mean, it's just, and the rehearsal process was just a grind, you know? So in the middle of it, Chicago the Musical came to town in the middle of a rehearsal process. I said, let me see something uplifting and fun. I'm familiar with the movie of Richard Gere. I'd never seen the Broadway production of it.
Okay.
So I go to the show, and immediately I'm just transfixed by it. And Billy comes out, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's Billy Flynn. I was like, okay. I said, all right, a little familiar with it. And John O'Hurley was performing it. And as he's going, man, he's having a good time. He's singing, he's acting, he's doing his thing. It looks really tough to do. It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time and chewing gum and doing a backflip all at once. And I said, man, that looks really challenging. I said, I would love to do that one day. I just said it out loud, just casually. And who I was there with was the CEO of TPAC, and she has connections to New York. And she says, well, can you sing? And I said, yeah. I've had taken lessons before. I know the song to some degree, but I never sing out in public. That wasn't my wheelhouse.
Right, but you act. But I think it's just cool that you were doing stuff behind the scenes to put yourself in a position when opportunity came.
Exactly.
And then you're like, yeah, I can.
Yeah. So as a result of that, she got me the audition to New York. I go up to the Ambassador Theater in New York City, and that November, and I'm thinking to myself, like, shit, you know, I really don't know if I can do this or not. I'm really not confident in my voice. And the piano player comes out on the stage. He's very professional. He gets a sheet of music, puts it up there, and he's warming up. These beautiful tones coming from the piano. And I'm just like, oh boy, this is real. You know, I thought it was going to be a track I was going to sing to. Right?
This is the moment.
This is the moment.
Right.
And there was nobody in the theater. And I'm just, kind of sweating. I have him in my suit. I'm Billy Flynn. I said, I'm going to act my way through this. I said, whether I fail or succeed, it's going to be a great story. So he's warming up. And he says, okay, Mr. George, we're going to start at the top. All I care about is love. What key are you in? And I said, let's pick one. Let's just pick one. Let's figure it out.
That's good honesty.
Yeah, so we kind of went through it, found my right key, which is a G, and then he says, all right, let's go from the top. And I was nervous and, I cracked some notes here and there, but as I went on, I got more comfortable and I started doing the acting scenes and I just relied on what I knew. And after about an hour of auditioning, I hear this clap.
Oh, wow.
And it was Barry Weissler, the head producer for Chicago, comes down center aisle and says, oh my God, that was fantastic. Let's do it.
Wow.
I said, what? He said, let's do it. Let's bring you to New York. I said, really, when? He says, my people will get in touch with your people. I'm not thinking it could be next week. It could be next month. So I'm calling, making these phone calls. I'm saying, I'm going to be on Broadway. I'm going to be on Broadway. And
That's
he
amazing.
he didn't call me for a year later. Oh, wow. After that. But the moral of the story is I kept working on my craft. I kept going to singing lessons. I kept doing it. And they called me a year later and I was ready to go.
What'd your wife say?
She cried the first night on Broadway. She really cried because she was like, I can't believe that you found your way to Broadway. She's like, I'm the singer. I'm not on Broadway, but you made it to Broadway. And she said I did really well.
See, that's why I love going. I don't go a whole lot, so I don't want to misrepresent myself. But whenever I go to a play and you get the applause at the end, I mean, I just went and saw my niece, a 12-year-old, and whatever it was. I mean, the first time I hear the applause, it's like complete waterfall. I can't. Like when you're walking off, are you feeling that, or does that go away? What's it like being up there and hearing that cheer?
Oh man, it's gratifying. Sometimes you never know if people are standing up because they're really moved, or their legs are hurt, or they're just saying, "Okay, we're glad this shit is over with."
Right.
I'm very critical of my performances, so I'm like, I could have did that better. So I just take it for what it's worth, and I appreciate it, but I'm always searching for more. So, it's never like, I've arrived, I made it. It's just like you just accept the love, and you hope that they've gotten something from it.
So you're like a brick up there, and there's no sponge taking it in.
No.
You wouldn't say that?
I wouldn't say that. There have been performances where, like the last one I did was so grueling that I was glad it was over that I cried. Okay. I cried, and the emotion of it was so beautifully done. Like there were some scenes, man, where you truly connect with the character and his wants. I mean, you become a real vessel for the energy that it holds, and you can't help but get overwhelmed by it. And you do accept it. And I'm not like a breaker. I don't. But I accept the love.
People in the cast, they sort of feel like, is there a comparison to your teammates?
At first, they were kind of like, oh God, here we go. Here's a celebrity coming in, a football player.
Doesn't deserve to be here.
Doesn't deserve to be. There's some other actors, some starving actors out there that deserves a spot. Why in the hell is he
This dude never waited tables. He's got money in the bank.
Right, yeah. He comes from a privileged took lessons. But when they really get to know me and they see, my work ethic and see the body of work, I've been doing this longer than I had an NFL career.
Yeah.
I played 9 years. I've been doing this now for 13, 14 years. So it's, I think they have a level of respect for my work ethic, and I'm relentless when it comes to searching for more. I'm not going to become complacent in a performance and say, I got this under my belt. I'm going to underestimate, like, hey, you know what? Oh, it's 12. Let me go run on the stage and do it. Right. There's a certain process that I do, that I take with it. I'm constantly in my script, constantly on my voice lessons, always searching for more, always, trying to engage so I can keep confidence in them that I'm going to do my job. that they don't have to worry about me dropping a line or missing a moment on stage. I'm gonna always try to be consistent with them. Yeah.
So we're in Chicago here. We're at your hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a grind for you? Is it you wake up, you're popping out of bed? Like, how would you explain that part?
Actually, this is like a mini vacation.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Later in the week, it gets rough because you have the 5-show weekend.
Okay.
One Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. But it's like I have space to wake up, do what I have to do. I might swing my golf clubs for a little bit, do a little workout, go swimming, get something to eat, go see the city a little bit, get in my script, and I can lay back in it. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, you know what? Tonight I'm going to perform on a grand stage in Chicago.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, man. That's a blessing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I'm living a pretty damn good life. It really is amazing.
Yeah. Well, you earned it. I just want to name that one more time. That most people don't do what you did after your career to get there. Plus, you went through your journey like everybody else has. So I know that I know you've talked about you were taking Ambiens. It was 1, then 2, then 3.
Then, I took just to get a quality of rest to fight anxiety.
Right.
There are nights like when you just toss and turn, and my youngest son, who was in our bed at the time, he was like maybe a few months old, my wife's sleeping, and it was like, man, what the hell am I gonna do now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is gonna fulfill that void that's left? It had nothing to do with money. I had the money in the bank. I had a business that I started, but it wasn't fulfilling. So it was like I go from playing the game of football, a game that I loved dearly and would die for, to now being on the outside of that and looking in, and never to have the opportunity to put the pads on again or go into training camp. Every July you smell that fresh cut grass at 5 in the evening and it's football time. The sense memory kicks back in. And to be on the outside of that was hurtful. To try to find the love of the locker room, that was gone. So it was a stage of mourning for me. Some guys are different. Some guys say, hell, I was ready to get the hell out of there. I'm done. I can go on. They can seamlessly do it from an emotional standpoint. But majority of the guys that I know, including myself, had a tough time dealing with it because we invested so much of ourselves into that, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. There's a lot of time into the relationships that were created and the memories that were created, and the opportunities that were missed. I often still dream about playing in the Super Bowl. I often dream about playing against Michigan. I still have football dreams,
That's
that never
awesome.
go away. Seriously, and every single one of them, it's like I'm coming back. I've already won the Heisman, and we're playing Michigan, and this is to win a second Heisman, and I can't find my damn socks. And kickoff is happening right now in the first play of the game. I'm supposed to be out there, and I can't find my socks. Every single time, I can't find my socks. So I still dream of the game, but it was really a challenge for me to accept that, to embrace it, and said, hey, you know what? I've done all I can do within that game, and now it's time for me to play another game. But just take all the lessons that I've learned from football and the wars that I've had, the challenges, the battles, the rivalries, all of that. Take those lessons and apply that to what I'm doing now.
Did that ever happen in a game where you couldn't find your equipment? Because like a football guy, you got 10 million things.
It was such a big fear. That happened to me one time, and when I was a freshman, and at Ohio State, we just beat Syracuse the week before.
Yeah.
Big game, being on national television.
3 touchdowns, right?
3 touchdowns.
Okay.
Kirk Herbstreit was our quarterback.
Okay.
And he was the one that led the charge to say, man, we're going to upset the world, shock the world. We were all geeked. Next week, we go up to Wisconsin, supposed to beat them at their place. And I go out, and it's kind of weird, early game, so I left my damn mouthpiece in the locker, and I left my pad. So from that point on, I was always very meticulous about having everything locked and loaded and going forward so I wouldn't miss any of my equipment. There have been guys that took the wrong helmet, you know, they weren't paying attention.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm just curious, if it'd be impossible to rate, but like playing Michigan versus playing in the Super Bowl, like.
They're two different games. The Super Bowl, it's an honor and a privilege. Both are. Playing against Michigan is an honor, but that's a war. That's a nasty war. You're going to get hit like you've never been hit before. I've been hit harder in that game than I probably ever been hitting professionally.
Wow.
Yeah. There's safeties, Michigan safeties back then were my height. 6'3", 225, coming downhill and will talk to you. So it was angry. Yeah. And they knew every hit was with bad intentions from both sides. Yeah. So Michigan, to me, probably is a slight edge because of the emotions that go into that game and the bitterness that's behind the rivalry that's into that rivalry. So I would definitely say that just slightly over the Super Bowl, but one that rivals that is Baltimore. So
right,
without a doubt.
So then we got Ray and the Ravens.
Oh yeah.
You're in the College Football Hall of Fame, but if you don't fumble against Illinois, how many yards do you put up in your career? Because they took carries from you freshman and sophomore year.
Well, here's the thing. I was never the starter.
Okay.
Back then, you had to go through some dudes, man, to get on the field. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. That could be your career. Robert Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He was, his.
That's legit.
Raymond Harris, Butler Benote, Jeff Cothran.
Yeah. Raymond was a.
Yes, he played in the NFL for 7 years.
Yeah, Raymond was a dude.
That's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
So I had to be creative and find my way on the field.
Well, so. You're a high school. You did an extra year of high school, right? I don't know if that was.
No, I went to Fork Union.
Okay.
So let's be clear. I didn't go there for I went there for a postgraduate year, but I went there for my high school years.
Yeah.
So I was there for 3 years. So I did my prep work there. I graduated from Fork Union. I left Abington when I was a sophomore in high school, and I went to Fork Union. So that was the foundation of really an eye-opening experience to say, you know what? I thought I was good. I thought I was tough, but I was a little punk who was scared, and I had to grow up.
So what would you say to another little punk who was scared, maybe doesn't know it right now, who's watching this, and you could go play at Ohio State, but you're going to have big-time competition, or you could go play at, say, Akron, and you're going to get on the field? Because I'm sure some guys end up going to the big school, and they never see the field.
Well, I knew in my heart, ever since I was born, that football was a game that I wanted to play, a game that I loved. My father introduced me to the game, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted him to talk about me the same way he talked about other great running backs. The way he ran and raved about Jim Brown or Earl Campbell or Walter Payton, Billy Sims, Joe Cribbs. He was a fan of running backs, and as a result, I was a fan of running backs. And I wanted him to talk about me the same way. And I wanted to do it in a grand way. I wanted to win a Heisman. I wanted to go to Penn State. That was it. So in my heart, I knew what that looked like. I didn't know if it was going to be Penn State, Michigan. Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I'll never go to Michigan. But I just kept it in my heart. Just a real quick story, and here's what's important: is my true senior year at Fork Union. I rushed for over 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, all state, all prep. And at the end of that year, recruiting season, I had zero scholarship offers.
Wow.
I had a partial scholarship offer from Edinburgh. And I could have left Fork Union Military Academy to go to Edinburgh. No disrespect to Edinburgh. And I said, I can get the hell out of Fork Union now and go to Edinburgh, have a decent career, live life, and who knows what's going to happen. But that wasn't my vision. So I said, I have one other option, that's to come back to Fort Union and really make it count. So I did just that. Now, my mother at the time was like, well, Eddie, maybe, being a big fish in a small pond is probably the route you should take. I said, that's cool, Mom, but look, I'm a great white. I belong in the ocean. Wow. I gotta find that. So I put all the cards on the table, and I went back to Fort Union, and I had a good year. Great year, actually. 6 games, had 1,500 yards and like 15 touchdowns, something like that, and got the attention of Ohio State, and the rest was pretty much history.
Where'd that confidence come from, that I was a great white at 18? That's big-time confidence for a young man.
But the signs weren't there. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest. I had to go through a lot to get on the field. And I knew what I had to do that summer. I had to count every single day. Every single day that I woke up was geared toward that goal.
Wow.
To go into Ohio State. And what I would say to any kid that's out there listening to that, you've got to be about your craft. You've got to know who you are, and you've got to keep that flag out in front of you, although in your mind's eye, not the physical eye. Because when you go and do different things, like I had to go back for a second year and there was no guarantee. Right. Had I not gone back, just wanted to get out and took the fool's gold and said I can go to Edinburgh and be satisfied with that, I wouldn't probably be sitting here right now. So you've got to dedicate your life. You have to sacrifice a nightlife for yourself, the right friends, the right people, but you've got to be about your craft every single day and go after it. And that's when you learn to separate yourself from the rest of the pack.
Let's wrap up with the Hall of Fame. Now, you're one of 2 running backs in the history of the NFL to get to 10,000 yards, never miss a game, you and Jim Brown. So that's a stat I think holds on its own, where you could say I belong in Canton. How much does it matter to you? I'm assuming it does. And like, if you were going to say like why you think you belong there, what would you say?
Well, I'm not going to say why I think I belong.
Okay.
I think that's for the writers and the process to allow them to do that. In due time, if that happens, I'll be great. I'll be forever grateful. I think that is the ultimate accomplishment that every player wants to accomplish. It's a day, an opportunity for not just me, but your family, my mother, my father. It would mean a lot to my family, more than it would mean to me. So it would mean a lot.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate it.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It was great to talk to you. You're an inspiration, Eddie, and
I appreciate it.
There's so many guys I think in the game right now who hopefully are paying attention to your story and seeing your journey and like, hey man, it's gonna end. One thing that everybody who gets to your level, which is the most exclusive country club in the planet, you get to play professional sports, professional football, be out there, do what you love, but it comes to an end for everyone, and then we got a whole life to live here. So I
appreciate it.
Yeah, great to talk to you.
You made me cry, man.
I didn't mean to.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much.